Hello. I was thinking about what to do for Black History Month. A lot of my books are packed away, but I found a very important section in this Racial and Ethnic Groups, 10th edition. It's an older book, but this section will hold. And it's called, I'm going to read this section called The Consequences of Subordinate Group Status. And it's important because that's what we're dealing with today. What happens when you push a group down for so long and life goes on, but they function at the bottom, function at the bottom, function at the bottom, and how that affects them generation after generation. So, what happens to the social structures? There are several consequences for a group of subordinate status, or a group of subordinate status, excuse me. These differ in their degree of harshness, ranging from physical annihilation to absorption into dominant group. In this section, we will examine 6 consequences of subordinate group status: extermination, expulsion, secession, segregation, fusion, and assimilation. So let's deal with extermination. The most extreme way of dealing with a subordinate group is to eliminate it. One historical example is the British destruction of the people of Tasmania, an island off the coast of Australia. There were 5,000 Tasmanians in 1800, but because they were attacked by settlers and forced to live on less habitable islands, the last fully blooded Tasmanian died in 1876. A human group had become extinct, totally eliminated. Today, the term genocide is used to describe the deliberate, systematic killing of an entire people or nation. This term is often used in reference to the Holocaust, Nazi Germany's extermination of 12 million European Jews and other ethnic minorities during World War II. The term ethnic cleansing was introduced into the world's vocabulary as ethnic Serbs instituted a policy intended to cleanse, eliminate Muslims from parts of Bosnia. More recently, a genocidal war between the Hutu and the Tutsis people in Rwanda left 300,000 school-age children orphaned. However, genocide also appropriately describes white policies toward Native Americans in the 19th century and 1800. The American Indian population in the United States was about 600,000. By 1850, it had been reduced to 250,000 through warfare with the U.S. Army, disease, and forced relocation to inhospitable environments. I've heard numbers like altogether there was 200 million natives, and now there's like 3 million. Expulsion. Dominant groups may choose to force a specific subordinate group to leave certain areas or even vacate a country. Expulsion, therefore, is another extreme consequence of minority group status. European colonial powers in North America and eventually the U.S. government itself drove almost all Native Americans out of their tribal lands into unfamiliar territory. More recently, Vietnam in 1979 expelled nearly 1 million ethnic Chinese from the country, partly as a result of centuries of hostility between the two Asian neighbors. These boat people were abruptly eliminated as a minority within Vietnamese society. This expulsion meant that they were uprooted and became a new minority group in many nations, including Australia, France, the United States, and Canada. Thus, expulsion may remove a minority group from one society. However, the expelled people merely go to another nation where they are again a minority group. Secession. A group ceases to be a subordinate group when it secedes to form a new nation or moves to an already established nation where it becomes dominant. After Great Britain withdrew from Palestine, Jewish people achieved a dominant position in 1948, attracting Jews from throughout the world to the new state of Israel. In a similar fashion, Pakistan was created in 1947 when India was partitioned. The predominantly Muslim areas in the north became Pakistan, making India predominantly Hindu. Throughout this century, minorities have repudiated dominant customs. In this spirit, the Estonians, Latvian, Lithuanian, and Armenian peoples, not content to be merely tolerated by the majority, all seceded to form independent states after the demise of the Soviet Union in 1991. In 1999, ethnic Albanians fought bitterly for their cultural and political recognition in the Kosovo region of Yugoslavia. Some African Americans have called for secession. It's funny they don't mention the secession from the South. Suggestions dating back to the early 1700s supported the return of blacks to Africa as a solution to racial problems. The settlement target of the American Colonization Society was Liberia, but proposals were also advanced to establish settlements in other areas. Territorial separatism and the immigrationist ideology were recurrent and interrelated themes among African Americans from the late 19th century well into the 1980s. The Black Muslims, or Nation of Islam, once expressed the desire for complete separation in their own state or territory within the present borders of the United States. Although a secession of blacks from the United States has not taken place, it has been proposed. It ain't gonna happen. We don't want to leave because we built the place. Why would you build a place and then leave without getting your just rewards from that place? Sorry, you're stuck with us. But it does, and I'm not saying this is a hard fact, but it does kind of feel like we're being, I don't want to say we're being exterminated. That's not the right word, but we're dying. I'm losing people in my personal life, and we're losing people in general in our public life a lot these days. And with this COVID and flus and cancers and heart attacks and strokes, losing a lot of people. So we'll see in the next 4 years how many Black Americans are left. I would say there's about 30 million of us now. I wouldn't be surprised if it's only 3 million of us in 4 years. But we'll see. Until next time, I want to say thank you for your support. Take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe.